All right. Hello, everyone. Megan Boitano. Welcome to this week's RD to RD Live interview. We are joined by a video expert, digital marketing expert, Whitney Bateson, and she is going to talk to us about harnessing the power of video for your business. I'm really excited to have Whitney on today. We met actually at Fancy back in October at a networking event, and we've stayed in touch, and I was really excited to have her on today to talk about video and how you can use that in your business. Before we get started, I do want to mention in the link for the video is a link to download Whitney's free guide, her resource guide that we're going to be talking about. So if you want to grab that, you can either get it now or you can grab it at the end of the video. But it is an awesome resource that she's put together on getting started with video. So if you want to grab that now or grab it later, either one is totally fine. So Whitney, I always like to start our interviews by getting a little bit of background. There's always a story to our journey, whether we're successful in creating a digital product or running a business. It never happened overnight. So I would love for you to share with our listeners how it is that, a little bit about your background as a dietitian and how you decided to create Whitney Bateson Digital Strategy.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for having me, Megan. It was great meeting at Fancy, and I've been watching you from the sidelines. So I'm super excited to be on and talking with you. So I've always had a creative streak. But then, growing up, you go to the Career Resource Center, you're looking at all the jobs and you're like, well, being an artist is not a real job. I need a science degree. So fast forward to being a dietitian, but I was able to, dietetics for me was still about helping people. And I think a lot of dietitians, that's kind of our core value. And so I still love being a dietitian, but through my career, so I work at Chartwell's right now, I'm transitioning out of that role, where I was doing a lot of program development. And that's where I became really successful incorporating design and technology. First design and then slowly pulling in the technology. And it was very organic. I just continued to do things that I love doing, designing materials and finding new platforms that we could use. And it just kept growing and snowballing. And then one day I was like, I really want to make a nutrition education video. I kind of hit like another little wall and I'm like, all right, what's the next thing? And I was told it was going to cost us $4,000. And it's like, that just doesn't seem right. And at that point, I really started thinking about, there needs to be a better way for us as dietitians to be seen and heard and really share our story and help as many people as possible. We need to have the same resources that these big companies have. So I just saw a need in the market. I thought I could help people based on my own experience and my passion for learning and growing skills and helping dietitians be successful. So
cool. Well, I'm sure we're going to weave in a lot more about your business, throughout and just kind of the, what you are building now. But the goal today is to really talk about how to plan and produce high quality videos, because video is powerful, but video done well is unstoppable, right? Getting your message across and connecting with your customers with a well done video, it's just, fantastic for your business. And so it's something I want to learn more about. So let's just go ahead and dig in. So we'll first start out, how did you we were starting to touch on that, but how did you learn to shoot and produce video? How did this come to be your passion? One of them.
I had a week-long vacation and just dove in. So it was one winter. And after I was told, it's going to cost $4,000, I said, no, I'm going to teach myself. I've done that before. And so lynda.com is a great resource. I think I had been Googling a little bit different programs to create video. I looked at some blogs. This blog, I think it's called Food Photography Blog. She shares a lot of really great camera resources and things like that. So I pieced all that together, and I watched a lynda.com course on using Premiere Pro. And I shot a video in my kitchen and edited it together. And that's how I learned.
I actually think that's really, a video is one of these things that we kind of make a Mount Everest out of it. That it's really inspiring to hear you say, you took a week and you took a course and you learned to edit video and shoot and edit video. And I think sometimes hearing that from someone else goes, I can do that. I can get started, and over time, of course, video will improve, but that it doesn't have to be a Mount Everest. It really is something you can get started with without, spending years. You don't need to go to film school.
No. Oh, and that's the big thing, is that I think we as dietitians, we're credentialed. We know the long road that it takes to become a dietitian. And I think we sometimes equate that everything else that we want to accomplish professionally is also a long road of schooling and certifications and things written on paper on your resume. But a lot of these things, you don't have to go to school for them in order to incorporate them into your professional skill set.
It's very reassuring to know, some of those editing software programs. I've been surprised, honestly, as I've dove into building my own business, that how easy it really is with some of the tools out there to get good results in something that you have been dreading doing, and then you tackle it and you think, well, that wasn't so bad after all. I can really do this. So before we we're going to transition a little bit and talk about, for me, we talked about video feeling like Mount Everest. Well, just the different kinds of videos, everything from hands and pans, recipe videos, kind of your BuzzFeed style, captions over the video, to, one where it's you face to face with, some other, we're going to talk about B-roll. The types of videos can be, where to start. So maybe just talk to us a little bit about the different kinds of video and, why should I learn more about video? Why is it good for my business?
Yeah, absolutely. So from my experience, there are basically like six different types of videos. So there's the promotional video, promoting a product, your business, things like that. There's testimonials, Q&A, which is kind of what we're doing here, but you can also, receive questions or make up your own questions and answer them. A demonstration, which is showing how to do something, like a piece of software, how to cut an onion. And then the explainer video, which is pretty close to a demo, but it's a little bit more how-to. And that's where I think those tasty style videos kind of come in. And then there's also like the educational video. And I have some of those on my website where you're really educating about something. It's not so much a demonstration. Yeah. Okay.
So that needs us to dig in a little bit more. So all those different types of video, using an example of a couple where you would see them used, I guess, in a various business application for a dietitian.
Yeah. So I was actually reading a blog post the other day suggesting what are the three main videos that you should focus on for your business. And I have to agree with what they said. They talked about a promotional video, something that's kind of promoting your product, a testimonial. So, and I think for dietitians, that's really important, especially if you are in private practice, having a few people, and maybe you don't have them on video, but you have, and we'll talk about the styles in a second, but maybe you have some words and quotes and things like that. And then also about your story. So who you are, what you stand for, why you got into business. So I think those are like the three areas that you could focus on. And even just starting first with a little bit about what your business is, how it works, how people work with you. Even that is a great place to start, because I look at video. And so you asked too, why is it important for us as dietitians? So we're asking people to do something that's very emotional. We're not asking them to invest in their 401k. That can be written in a blog post. That can be read somewhere. We are asking for them to potentially make major lifestyle changes, change how they go about their day-to-day, food is so emotional. So it's almost capturing that human-to-human interaction when you explain, my style of coaching someone is X, Y, and Z, or this is how I do things, and this is my business, and this is how I interact with people. I think that it's capturing that human interaction and putting it on video, and that's so critical.
Yeah. I think that know, like, and trust, in order to build a relationship, that being able to see you on camera, how you speak, your caring nature, your confidence as a clinician, of course, not always as important maybe in our promotional video, but that speeding up that know, like, and trust when, people see your blog post, but a short video can do so much to show who you are and what you're about. And I think back to just people that I follow, whether it's, someone like Amy Porterfield or Pat Flynn, when their videos come through, it builds such a level of credibility and respect. When I see them, I enjoy reading their content, but I really enjoy also seeing them on video. It somehow develops a relationship in a different way.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I think we want to be perfect, and I think no matter whether you listen to podcasts or read, they always say your videos should be horrible at first. If you wait, no, and I've heard many podcasters that say, really, if you're waiting until you have everything perfect, that you're really waiting too long. You should be ashamed of the first videos you make, or you started too late. And that's really that's what I've seen, and I've actually taken that to heart, and that the reality is that you can study and learn, but you just have to get started. And they're probably not going to be perfect or pretty, maybe right out of the gate. Well, maybe with your help they could be, but.
Well, yes. And that's one of the things I started off too. My first video was on my iPhone. And then I quickly got a DSLR because I was making this my business, and, it was exciting to do that. But yeah, you can start small and you keep growing and learning. And one of the things that has been good for me as I'm trying to kind of say, turn the intimidation into inspiration. So it can be very intimidating. You see all these amazing videos online, and you do think that you need to start out at that level. And you don't need to do that, but you can at least be inspired by that. And the book Steal Like an Artist talks about, we start by copying. We start by covering other people's work. The Beatles were a cover band starting out. So you don't have to start from making original content, coming up with your storyline all on your own. See what other people are doing and start small.
Yeah. Finding a video that you're like, oh, I can put my own content in here, but I like the way that it's structured. I like the way that it flows from perhaps the person to B-roll, rather than trying to come up with that yourself. Really looking to, I love you say, be a cover band, right? Just cover somebody else, in a complimentary way. That's obviously going to be your own work.
Yes.
So we were talking about the different types of video, and I wanted to make sure that I gave you ample time if you felt like there was anything else in types of video that you wanted to dig into.
Yeah, I'll just talk. So, on top of the types, we also have different styles that we do. So the words and pictures and captions, that's certainly a style that you do see on social media. It can be very effective on a website playing and can be pretty easy to put together. And then you also have animation. So that's another option. There are a lot more cost-effective options coming out too in order to do that. So that's good. And that can be good for like explainer videos, for example.
When you say like an explainer video, I've seen everything from like little stick figure animation drawings, or, how your product works. Is that kind of what you mean by an explainer video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like a new piece of software, even some of the video editing software out there, they have a little explainer video right on their landing page that kind of shows, did you drag this in here? Because it's really not a demo at that point. It's telling you like how it works. So doesn't apply to every situation, but if you especially do have a website, like even on RD to RD, you could have, an explainer video kind of showing a potential vendor how to, how easy it is. 1, 2, 3, you set me up as a vendor in like 2 seconds. So it's super easy. Um,
Yeah, we had a question too. I want to go back and make sure I get all excited. Lorena was asking about the couple of things you referenced, and we'll link them, or you can add them in comments later. The Lynda, it's Lynda, I think, .com. And then the Premiere Pro, whatever course you took, and maybe some other people on, could recommend as well if there was, other people who might benefit from those resources too.
Yep, absolutely. And then the blog that I was talking about, wistia.com, you can put that in the, and I actually have a tip later on that I got from them too. They're a great video resource.
And your, some of these video types and video styles for everyone that's tuning in, that Whitney's free downloads, which there's a link in the post that accompanies the video, goes over in detail different styles of video, different types of video, and then of course how to sometimes shooting, prepping, storyboards. So we're going to get into some of that. So make sure you grab that download too.
Yeah, and so to wrap it up, we'll just say then the last style is really that live on camera, which is what I focus on mostly, and is, I think, the one that people, when they think of video, they think about. And I generally think that to keep your videos interesting, blend styles, blend types. So maybe you're going to have yourself in front of the camera for a little bit, and then you have some words and photos and things like that. So I think to keep it interesting, you kind of mix it all together.
So you mentioned the type of video kind of to start with. You agreed with the blogger as far as remind me kind of a promotional video, which is a little bit, I don't want to say salesy in nature, but is promoting, right, your products and services, a testimonial, and I can't remember the last video style you mentioned.
Your story,
right, your story. And as far as matching that up with the appropriate style of video, so if someone's listening and saying, okay, I'm going to get this download, I'm going to get started on video, let's say they're going to start with their story. I want to tell my story on my About Me page. I'm going to have my description, and then I'm also going to include a video about myself, let's say. Just throwing it out there. What would be that style of video, obviously, would fit that kind of best? Where would you start? Okay, so maybe this helps us transition into some of that storyboarding. So let's just try to make it real, because I'm actually envisioning myself. I'm like, okay, I want to put a video on my About Me page on meganboitano.com, right, my private practice site, that I think that would really help. So I am saying, okay, Whitney, what do I do now that I've said, okay, I'm going with About Me video, style of video. It's not going to be live. It's going to be me. Where do we go from here?
Right. Cool. Okay. So the three basic processes: plan, shoot, edit. So planning is by far the most important thing. If you've ever sat down, I kind of equate it, if anyone sat down to try and make a website either, you sit down and you're like, oh, this is going to be really easy. If you haven't planned out the content, where you want your photos to be, you are going to be in so much pain and you're going to feel so overwhelmed. So similarly, you may think, oh, shooting a video about myself and telling my story. Let me just get my iPhone out and shoot me doing my story. As much as I would like to be supportive, you are not going to get a good video that way. And it's not going to be fun. So the more fun way to do it is to first write out your script and write it from the heart, read over it a bunch of times, make it natural. Think about what are the things that your target market and audience is going to want to be hearing. Then read it out loud a few times and time yourself. You don't want a video that's over 2 minutes long. A minute even is sometimes pushing it a little bit. So it's amazing how quickly a minute can go by. So after you write that script, time yourself doing it, because once you get that script set, that's going to be the foundation. So you want it good.
Yeah. And I think if you go and you look at other people's introductory videos, I think those are good places for inspiration. And oftentimes they're not that long. They're pretty short. People's attention spans are, boom, they're not that long.
Yeah. People drop off pretty quick. So the next step is storyboarding. So I can actually share my screen if you want to see some examples.
Yeah, let's see a storyboard.
Okay. So I am going to share my screen here. and let me know when you can see my lovely sketches.
Oh yeah, we are seeing your stuff.
Okay. So this is one example of a storyboard. So you can sketch it out, and this is where you want to be drawing on the inspiration of others. So looking, like you mentioned, at those other videos, and maybe even take some notes about at what, even at the different marks, the 15-second mark, the 20-second mark, what's showing up on the screen and what are the different things. So on this storyboard, you can see I have the title coming in. I've got, that's me on the side there, that little stick figure, and a little image of herbs. But then I go straight to some B-roll, and B-roll is basically filler. So if you watch a newscast or something like that, you'll notice that they don't have the newscaster in front of the camera the entire time. They're filling it in with, if they're at a fair, country fair, for example. I don't know why I came up with that example, but they're at the country fair, and they're going to have pictures of kids enjoying their ice cream. They're going to have videos of, if they're talking about, it's been record-breaking turnout, they're going to have people walking into the entrance. They're going to have these shots that are demonstrating it without just the newscaster saying all of these things. So this is where we start switching up the styles.
So B-roll. So personally, I find this a little intimidating to come up with, this B-roll. So, if I'm doing an introductory video of kind of an about me on my website, how do I decide like what's good B-roll? I mean, for like the county fair we were mentioning, I can think of those. I think it's harder when it's yourself. Would that be just general? Could it be like little clips of food, or
Yeah. I can also, let me show, let's see. So let me show this, this script. So this was not sketched. This was obviously, I took my script here on the left, and then I wrote out all the shots that I wanted to have. I just didn't feel like drawing it out this time. So for this example, and I kind of mapped out when I was going to have an interview. I wanted to do a side interview. I didn't end up doing that. But then back down here, when I have narration, this is all different stuff that I have up on the screen. So I did decide to just have some words on the screen. And then I had some examples of some of my work. So so this is the benefit of coming up with a storyboard.
The planning part. I see you even have like the camera angles. Like you're really thinking through all of that. If you're hiring someone to do a video, they're going to be thinking about these aspects. So
exactly. And so you come up with what are the things that you're going to shoot with yourself up on the screen, and then what are the things that you're going to shoot afterwards. So you can shoot other things, and just think about, like, watch some videos of other people and think of what would be supporting whatever you're saying. You don't want it to be distracting. So if you're talking about counseling people and you're showing a picture of you cutting food in the kitchen, even though that is great, that is not supporting whatever you're saying. So another thing that I do is, and you can do this in Premiere Pro, is you can just use a photo and have it like kind of panning and zooming a little bit. So instead of having to have a live action video, you can just have that photo kind of moving ever so slightly. So it's still looking like there's something going on, and it's not just sitting there.
Lumen 5 does that. If you use it, it's more like your BuzzFeed. It's just like a slideshow with the text overlay, but it kind of zooms in a little bit, and sometimes there'll be like a blur on one half, and so it gives the illusion that it's kind of this live action, and people are looking at the text and they don't even really notice that it's not a true, I don't know, video. It just depends on the style of video. So it's a really good point if maybe this is your first video, just doing that, right? Panning.
Yes. Panning is very good.
Yeah.
And you can also, there's tons of free stock photography options out there. I think I list some of them in my handout. And so you don't feel like you need to put more work on yourself. I mean, creating a video by yourself is already a lot of work and can be a little nerve-wracking. If you're, focusing on shooting your video, like the thing you want to focus on is you in front of the camera and getting that down and getting the script down. You don't want to also be thinking about, oh, I have to somehow get a photo of a grocery store and, people talking and all of that. Get it from stock photography. That way it cuts down on how much work you have to do.
So if we go back to kind of your storyboard, I'm thinking, if you're kind of sketching this out, I like the way I guess I'm maybe a visual person, but you kind of had yourself as a little stick figure, some of what you were thinking about in the B-roll, and then maybe that could morph into, so you're starting kind of big and then getting into the script and the camera angles and maybe thinking about the photography. And I'm thinking, like, for a 1 minute video, like a minute's like, wow, this would be a lot of work for even just a 1 minute video. So I think some of our tendency might be like, oh, do I really, why? Does this really matter to have this is like professional style video? Can't you just get away with, a minute of you talking? Like, why go for the extra work?
So I think the amount of change-ups that you want, the more you have, the more complex the video is. And I don't think that you need to overdo it if you don't want to when you're starting out. Having a really good video of you talking to the camera is going to be more powerful than no video at all. But one tip that I learned, and this is from the Wistia blog I was talking about, is, so we've got this script, and we haven't really touched on the big elephant of, do you have to memorize your script?
Ooh. Should you memorize your script?
Yeah. Do you have a teleprompter? How do you make sure that your eyes are not moving around and things like that? So the secret to this, and this is why it's so great to have all these little cutaways, is you basically, wherever you're doing your video, have your script blown up and break it down into about 2-sentence segments. And plan to have some kind of switch up in your some cutaway or something like that.
When you say a cutaway, you mean it's no longer you, right, on the screen, and you're cutting to B-roll or a text on screen or something like that, right?
Or a photo or something else. Okay. Occasionally, if you are standing in the exact same spot and you don't move a whole lot, you can do a cutaway, and it won't, and you can just literally cut yourself, and have the next video show and have it be pretty seamless, but that can be sometimes a little iffy. So yeah, it cuts away to something else for just a moment, and then it comes back, and little does the audience know that you did that in smaller segments. So what I typically do, so I'll bring up this video the video that this is actually showing. And I'm going to make sure that I don't have the sound on here. Okay. So can you see this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I memorized that, but then I cut away immediately. And then I memorized this. And all I did is I had my script written on a chair, like slightly under the camera. And I just read it over a bunch of times and then looked into the camera and talked, and then looked down again and talked. And every time that I was looking down and practicing my lines, I could cut that out later in post-production.
This is great.
Yeah. So you can, cut a bunch of times, and it just helps you, helps your nerves a whole lot.
And it's a lot more interesting. Like we mentioned, attention span, that just kind of re-grabs your attention, and the text on the screen, I think. There's just more variety. It looks more professional. It looks like a professional video, Whitney.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. Unfortunately, some of it looks stupid because there's no sound. The tinfoil thing really was important.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure people can visit your website and check out, this video that you have.
Yeah. So that's that. Yeah, so let's see, what else? What else
So I have a question I want to make sure. Corin was saying, I have an Android phone and I've heard that you can't create videos like Tasty on Android phones, only iPhones. So alternative tools, if, you might want to go from your phone to, using obviously a camera or something for shooting.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe it's because there is the iMovie app on iPhones that I think people probably use. So that is an option. It's going to limit you in the complexity of the video that you're going to do. So doing a Tasty style video, I would shoot the video on your Android and then you can just move the video onto your computer and edit it that way.
So the editing software you use, you mentioned before, is Premiere Pro?
Yes, Adobe Premiere
Adobe
Pro.
Premiere Pro. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think there's others out there. I think I've heard of like Final Cut Pro. Is that a Mac one?
Yeah, that one's available too. And from the reviews that I've read, so I have Adobe Creative Cloud, which is a subscription to all of Adobe's programs, Photoshop, Illustrator. There's like 20 that I want to learn.
Yeah.
All of the courses are on lynda.com. And so Final Cut is not included in the subscription.
Oh.
So I think that Final Cut is potentially either more expensive or there's just something weird.
But the one you use is Premiere.
Premiere is it's professional grade.
But it's included in your Adobe Creative Cloud. Yeah, last week Kristen Schaefer was on and she was saying, we were talking about Adobe Photoshop to make kind of mock-ups where you can put a smart object in and anyway create a digital mock-up. And she was like, some people you may already have it and you didn't even know. Like you may have a subscription and you may already have it, or may be something it's not as unattainable to get access to.
Exactly. It's not out of reach. And if you are a student or have a student email, you can get a discount on the Creative Cloud, $20 a month. So that's pretty good to have all of the
Adobe tools. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things I knew I wanted to do more video, and I knew that investing my time in learning a program that was powerful enough to grow with me as I grow my skill set.
Yeah.
So that was important.
Yeah, I think that's always, there's the tools that, we've talked about Lumen 5 and I use like Rocketium that takes making video easier. And in my business, I've always been a fan of, kind of getting started, but I find that sometimes I've outgrown like the little tools that maybe I was using. Mm-hmm. And I think it's amazing how quick your skills kind of do grow as you practice a little bit and you learn. So, I think this is but we were talking about the storyboard and we were talking about the script and you showed us this cool video. And I think for me, it just kind of crystallizes all of what we were talking about. You're showing those pictures and you're showing the narration, and then that same table, that was the video that you produced from that. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And how long would you say? I always find it interesting. We had a guest a while back talking about creating an online course that like 80% of the work was not creating the course. It was everything else, right? Because that's the easy part. When you're making the video and when you're looking at shooting it, editing it, for you, what would you say to plan on? If I'm making a 1-minute video and maybe I'm new at this, and I'm going to try to write out a storyboard, a script, how much time is it going to take me? How's this going to go down?
Okay. So, yeah, definitely in the beginning, you're going to take more time. Writing the script, could take you an hour or two. The storyboard, again, an hour or two, especially if you're going on the internet and looking at different videos. And, I think that's a good time to be kind of looking for that inspiration. Then you want to set up wherever you're going to shoot. One big thing that I think is underutilized is lighting and sound. So make sure that you have good sound. I have a lavalier microphone that I use, and you can either plug it right into your iPhone that you're shooting from, or you can have a separate iPhone or device, and then you match up the sound. You can do that in Adobe Premiere. So
yeah, I upgraded to a better mic, and somebody commented I made a video with that mic, how wonderful my voice sounded, and it really wasn't my voice, it was the quality of the mic. And I think we kind of go, I've got my little earbuds here, but the difference when I hear a video where I'm using my good mic, it's night and day. It makes a huge difference. So again, we talk about these investments, but it just,
it was $20.
Exactly. You can get a mic that can make your voice sound a whole lot better. And the light, like right now when we're showing, I have one of those little ring lights, but the difference, right, when I don't have my ring light, when I just have it, my face looks 25 times better. Just simple lighting, right?
Yeah. We say that video is so much more effective and all that, but if it's not comfortable to watch because it's poorly lit or the sound is bad, people will drop off.
Yeah.
So setting up your set could take some time. Even I was joking to you earlier that I took a lot of time to make sure that my lighting was good, that my background was good. I didn't have any crazy stuff in the background. So you want to make sure that simplicity is key. You may think that, I need to have like a bowl of fruit and a thing of flowers and, a knife and cutting board. Less is better. So setting up your shot can sometimes take you an hour or two to kind of work that out. And I'm really sometimes bad at judging my time. So I'm kind of trying to over prepare everyone. And then shooting the actual video. So what I do is I do it all in one take because I'm doing those breaks. So I'll read over the 2 sentences multiple times, read them over. Then I look up into the camera and I read it, and maybe I still don't like it. So I look over again. I never stop filming because it's so much easier to just cut out what you don't like. And especially if you're doing audio too. So I record my audio on a separate iPhone. And so when I match up the audio to the video in Premiere, I only have to do it once, as opposed to if I had stopped shooting and reshot and, restarted every time, I'd have like 10
So
videos.
let's pause here. So I want to make sure that I understand. So you have a DSLR, it's obviously a camera, and that's capturing the video, right? Yeah. But the audio, you're collecting that, or you're capturing that with your mic, your little level on your iPhone or your phone. Is that right?
I do a voice memo.
A voice memo. Okay, and then you import that in.
Yep.
Okay, but they're matching them. I've done a little bit of, when I record an MP4, right? You can detach the two of them and cut out sections. It's incredibly it's life-changing when you're like, I don't have to re-record everything. I can keep the audio. This is a major aha moment when it can save a lot of time, right? Or allows you to cut away and have a continuous audio. So, and I think just when you're doing a continuous, you've heard videos where people's voice changes a little bit and you're like, oh, they pieced that together. So I think sometimes having that continuous helps prevent you from having, I sound a whole lot different in this little snippet than I did the last one.
Yeah. So it took me 8 minutes to shoot that 1 minute video.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like it took me a long time. Like you said, shooting the video is not the long thing. It's the planning. And then it's the editing afterwards. And depending on how many cutaways you have, how finicky you want to be about timing, because I like having things being very crisp and moving very quickly, you can just keep playing. But the things that you notice in your video, other people are not going to notice.
And I think the point of 1 minute to 2 is really well made. It's a point well made, because somehow I think more is better. And I think if you can get a really great video in under 1 minute, you should be applauding yourself. And the utilization of that video, Instagram, it's 1 minute or less. There's more places you can use that video or create a shortened version of it for different platforms. I want to go back to the questions because we had a microphone question. So making sure we put a link to, I can put a link to I think I bought a Rode mic, is it level? I can't even say it. Lavalier.
Lavalier?
Does that mean like it clips on? It's got the little mic thing. Yeah, I can. We'll put a link in the comments. So to the one I bought and the one
I bought. Yeah.
I bought the one that was recommended. I attended another live with Shelly. She does a weekly Facebook cooking show, and it was the mic she was using. So I bought it on the recommendation of someone else, and I've been really happy. So there's a lot of options out there, but get a good mic. Get a good mic.
Or even just, a cheap mic, like everything. A cheap mic is better than no mic at all.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Right. I mean, you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars. Even one that's 20 can make a huge difference in the quality of the sound that you're capturing.
Yep.
You have great tip about not turning the camera off if you mess up. I always get up, turn it off, and start over again. And I think that's a really great tip, to just keep it rolling and use your editing software to put it all together, because you're going to cut out anything that you don't want.
Yep. And that way you're, like you said, I think that's a really key point. The sound, the lighting, everything is exactly the same. So when you do make those cuts, it's going to be unnoticeable because you did it in a span of 10 minutes as opposed to getting up, moving. Maybe you're not the same spot. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's like one of my most important takeaways from like, oh yeah, that's a great point.
Well, and for your nerves, I remember when I was shooting my first kitchen video, my nerves were out of control because I was trying to memorize my script and get it done. And every time that I messed up, I was like, oh my God, I have to do it again. And turning things off. And I was just so shaken up. And so this way it just totally takes off all the pressure. And you just keep flowing and you just start over. I
think every time you press record, it's like those nerves come up again, and it's easier. You kind of settle in once it's going, and you can kind of get that nervous edge off when the camera's been rolling for a while. So we talked a little bit about video editing, but I want to just talk about mistakes. We've talked a little bit about lighting and sound. Any other big kind of, I don't want to say no-nos, but mistakes you see people make that would save us from making them ourselves?
Well, I think professional videos, you'll notice if you start watching them, and like even the one that I made, the background was a green screen because my condo is extremely small and I don't have a clean office space like that. But I picked something that was very minimal.
So when you say green screen, let's make sure everyone who isn't a video guru knows what you mean by like you have like a real green screen. Like an official green screen.
Yes, a couple months ago, invested in a green screen to continue playing around. And so you too can own a green screen for like $200 or $300. And it's not hard to use and it's not hard to edit into videos. And it just provides me a lot more flexibility with my backgrounds.
Because it's basically allows you to put whatever you want in place of whatever's behind you.
Yeah. Yep. And, but just like with anything, if you put the wrong thing behind it, it's going to detract. So just make sure you look at other videos and see what they're doing. So I picked a very muted, blurred background that kind of fit what I was going for. I wasn't like out at a farmer's market talking about video editing.
Right.
So I think the background is actually really critical, the composition of the entire shot. Make sure it's close enough in and just don't clutter it. You don't need to take away from the star of the show, which is you.
That's a good point. I think it's easy to get caught up in the details when in reality less is more, right? Keep the background simple. So that's excuse me, a good tip as far as mistakes that you see people make. I think we had talked about lighting and sound, that those are people who have really, faces that are, poorly lit and poor quality audio. So is there we talked about steps we talked about planning and producing and the storyboard and the editing. Is there anything else as kind of we've walked through that process that, that you feel like we need to know to kind of put it all together?
I think just make sure, and I'll show, I'm going to share my screen again and show a video that I had made. I was demoing how to use Premiere Pro for a colleague. So I just want people to see what Premiere Pro offers as you're looking at different editing software. So let me know. Can you see things? Okay. So this will be playing, but basically Premiere Pro allows you to have multiple tracks. So you can have your audio down there, you can have background music, and then you can have your video playing underneath, and also have some photos showing up and things like that. And so I think the critical thing.
Yeah, the tracks I think are hard to, until you've used them. It's like rows in an Excel spreadsheet. Each element is in its own little row, and it kind of allows you to, control each row a little bit, each piece of content.
Things can like overlap over each other.
Right.
And so I think when you're looking at editing software, a key piece is kind of looking out for that multi-track editing. That's going to give you the flexibility to have the words and the photos and your video and other things popping up and moving around. So just keep that in mind. And
you mentioned that you took a course and learned how to use the tool, and that it didn't take you forever to learn how to do it.
Yeah. And Google is, I wish more people, like, sometimes I think we feel like we're taking the easy way out by Googling something, but I see Google as being the way that you problem solve in the modern age and learn things. So I'm not going to say that Premiere Pro hasn't had its challenges and things that I haven't been able to do, or you get an error message, just Google it.
Yeah.
So I think knowing that Google is always there, and I even learned about Google. I went to a class learning about like HTML and CSS and website coding. And that's what coders do. They Google. Because someone else has had the error, someone else has figured out the code to do whatever you need to do.
Yes.
So I think when you start delving into some of these new technologies, it can be very overwhelming. And just know that any problem that you run into, if you Google it enough,
you're going to find the answer.
Find the solution.
And we all do that. I mean, I think last week our guest talked about the same thing, that if you're determined, whether it's YouTube videos or others, you'll get to the answer, and it might take a little bit longer. And I think that's where sometimes we pay for the convenience of an online course or something that makes that learning process speedier. It just saves you from having to search for the answers. And so I think a good quality video editing course can kind of speed up the process of you going from, novice to producing something that looks, more better quality. Yeah. So I know tomorrow you are giving a webinar for one of the Academy's practice groups. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? And if anybody wants to register or already has access to it, they know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's with the Dietitians in Business and Communications Dietetic Practice Group. And we're talking all about video. So it's going even more, going over all the steps of editing, shooting, storyboarding, my tips for the core equipment that you need, a few editing software options. So it's free for anyone to join. You don't need to be a member to join. But if you want the CEUs and the handouts and recording afterwards, then join the member, become a member. But otherwise, you can just go to dbconline.org, and it's on the right-hand side of the screen. You'll see like upcoming events, and we can put a link to it, I'm sure.
We can link to it
too. But it's called Harnessing the Power of Video. So please join. It's at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, okay, tomorrow. And then I'm looping back around on the questions. I get so excited here chatting with you. So we talked about people, still, so much video is filmed on our phones, right? That the limitations then for, iMovie, basic professional video editing is something like Adobe Premiere Better. And I think that differentiation between editing software on your phone to that professional editing with the tracks, the transitions, the control over. You can do a lot on your phone, but what's kind of that question of why do you need the professional level?
Yeah, I think it's deciding on your decision criteria, so if you want to do more quick videos in the moment and just get them up and not have a lot of transitions, and maybe it's something that you're not going to post on your website but you're going to have on social media, then use your phone. And I'm sure there are plenty of apps out there. I know iMovie being one of them that can get you there. But if you are going to have an about me video on your website, for example, there are those like evergreen or long-lasting videos that are really going to be part of building your brand, and you're going to use them in multiple ways, and they're going to be around for a while. That's when you want to use the more professional software, I would think, because you have more control, and I guess it's the complexity, honestly, the complexity of the video.
Yeah. And I think we talked about sound. We didn't talk about like music, which I think on your free handout, you mentioned some places you can go to get music.
Yep.
Those things, because sometimes you want that background music.
Oh yeah, for sure. I purchased for the video that I showed. I purchased like a $20 track. You can get ones for cheaper. You can also get free ones. But I know that I'm going to use it for a lot of different videos, and I'm going to get a lot of use out of it. So it's just worthwhile to do it. And yeah, there's plenty of just Google background music.
Yeah. And I think this is kind of enlightening in that, there's the tools that we need. Sometimes it feels never ending. It's like, how many things do I have to buy to be a nutrition business owner? But when we look at the statistics around video, I think it's one of those that gets you so much return, because video, it's amazing when I look, for example, at Instagram. I looked the other day, and my top 2 out of 4, 50% of I looked at my top 4 Instagram posts, right, for reach. I think it was impressions, actually. 2 of them were the little videos that I made using Rocketium. That you get preferential treatment with video. People like video. That investing time and effort in learning how to do video and having the tools that you need can, we're always scrambling to put out new content, more and more. You can take your old blog posts and repurpose them as videos. You can make 6 videos out of one blog post, little snippets. You can recycle content into videos. So,
right. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I've seen some statistics that talk about like 4 times as many consumers would rather watch a video about a product than read about it. Mm-hmm. And some other things like 54% of people would rather see video from a company they support than anything else. Mm-hmm. Emails, newsletters, blog posts. So if you're spending 2 hours writing a blog post, and you could be spending 2 hours once you get your process down making a video, you think about the ROI and what's going to be more impactful, and video is there. And
you mentioned about a product, and obviously one of my passions is digital products, and we tend to think of I'm doing my boot camp next week, our product description, right? If we have an ebook, that having a video about the book, right, about the content, whether it's some of the pages, cutaways, that when you're buying something online, you don't know what you're getting. And a long description, yes, you can break it up with, easy to skim, bullet points, but sometimes a 30-second video the conversions, it's really amazing when you start looking at the statistics of commerce sites that use video in their listings, their product listings, how much better they do in sales. So video, it's not just about an about me video, but if you're selling a course, you show up on the course sales page and you have a video about the course. I mean, video has so many purposes. It doesn't just have to be, hands in pans, but whatever video feels good to you.
Yeah, that's great.
And matches up with your business. It doesn't have to be,
right. I think we see a lot of stuff on social media, and we're like, well, I'm not doing a cooking show. I'm not showing how to cut things, but video can be used for everything.
I mean, I've stopped my scroll multiple times to see, a dietitian was explaining a concept, right? You started this out by talking about nutrition education, and we know that, we are the experts in nutrition, but taking a complex nutrition concept and in a minute kind of breaking it down. I've seen videos, everything from, picky eating. I saw a great video not too long ago about, it was mom and kid, and they kind of cut away to some other things and some tips that you could have written a huge blog post. And I think somehow we don't put the same value in the little video that we made to the content, maybe this long article we wrote. But, what is connecting with our ideal, customers or possible, that a video can be very powerful.
Yeah. Well, and then you think too about where people are consuming their information, and mobile is clearly where people are going, and a mom can watch a quick video about picky eating. They're not necessarily going to take the time to read a long blog post. So it's also just meeting people where they are, and it's mobile.
And sound bites, right? Like maybe it's a minute concept, you don't have to cover, it doesn't need to be, and coming, you don't have to cover every concept in one little video, right? Starting small, one or two main points. I think we tend to be, no, they don't. Yeah. There's also, I talked about before, little heat maps where people will look at how much of your blog post gets written, and you can actually go to, I can't remember the website right now, but it'll show you by color how many people actually get to the bottom of your blog post. So many people read the first couple paragraphs, and it's not because they don't like your content necessarily, is they get busy. I mean, how many times do I get interrupted with, life? And that it doesn't mean they didn't like your content, but I think when we talk about recycling that into videos or other ways where it's not more, you're not writing more content, you're just making it accessible to people in different ways.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's not that they didn't like your content. It's just that they didn't read it.
Yeah.
So keep telling them the same thing in different ways.
Exactly. So again, how can people find out more about you and the, services you offer as far as digital strategy? They want maybe some help creating a video, or whether it's, I really want to make this explainer video or a video about myself, but I need a little help with a storyboard or planning my script. How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So my website is whitneybateson.com, and I have right now I'm offering 30-minute free consultations. So if you're just not really sure, you want to get into video, but you're not really sure how it applies to your business, or you have an idea, but you're just kind of unclear about where to go, you can just book an appointment right on my calendar for my website, and whitneybateson.com/scheduling for that. And honestly, I want to be your partner. I don't want to just be your video producer. So I offer a range of services from I can teach you about the software. Maybe you don't want to do the lynda.com and you just want me to kind of give you a tutorial. I can teach you about that. I can teach you about the storyboarding process and help you along the way. We can do it together, where maybe we divide the work out. You shoot the video and I do some editing, and maybe you edit a little bit more and we finish it up. Or you can certainly hand it all off to me, and I can do anything from shooting the video to basically taking a script or direction from you and creating a video.
Okay.
So wide range of services. And I also offer website development, graphic design, and things like that. So I think overall for us dietitians and anyone trying to get themselves out there a little bit more, a critical piece too is just growing your confidence and knowing your story and your brand. And I think hopping on a call with me can really help you identify that a little bit more, because sometimes it can be tough to get in front of the camera. And so once you know what it is you're trying to say and get that plan together, we can make sure that video that you produce is really just going to be the best that you're proud of, and it's going to attract more people.
Yeah, I would love for people, we'll link to the video that you show where you screen shared with all the cutaways and things. I think that was really valuable for me personally to see it go from, kind of that script to a produced video, was really kind of an aha moment for me during this I think sometimes we only see the final product. We don't necessarily see all the steps and some of the tools that it took to get there. So this was super fun. Again, I have a link to your free download, and people can come to the webinar tomorrow, or they come to your website. Lots of ways to get in touch with you. So thanks so much for being here today. Thanks, Whitney.
Yeah, thank you.
All
Bye.
right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.